started, I want to thank everybody for coming on today. We appreciate it. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about outreach. That will be what Reed is talking about. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. James Wesselman will be monitoring the chat sessions and we'll break in to answer questions. At the end, we'll have time for open questions. You can unmute yourself and ask, or continue to ask in the chat. So we thank you for joining us. I did want to let you know we have posted the website. So I'll grab that link and we'll put it in the chat box as well, so you know. And we're posting all of these videos on that website. And then remember, tomorrow we have another Q&A session, which is just kind of open Q&A. Ask whatever you want. And then next week's Wednesday session is going to be on drives and wheels. So I just wanted to let you know that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Reed.
Okay. Before I start, if you could please put your team number and/or team name into the chat so we know where you're coming from and what teams you're coming from. That would really help for us to keep track. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so my name is Reed Thornton. I am a VISTA member. James, if you could explain VISTA real fast for me, please.
You're not going to see me, but VISTA is Volunteers in Service to America. It's a program under AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps is a federally funded program whose overreaching goal is to eliminate poverty in the United States. We're sort of like the Peace Corps, but we're in the United States, and we are not directly managed by the government. We're managed by different nonprofits. In the case of me and Reed, and for your benefit in FIRST, we are managed by FIRST. We are at the San Jacinto College as a site. Sharon Sledge is our site supervisor, but we are also directly managed by VISTA leaders around the country through Manchester. That's not really saying what we do for our FIRST Vistas, work with underserved and underrepresented communities to be involved in robotics through the FIRST robotics program, to help more people be able to access STEM in a fun and exciting way. So I have different ways of saying that. I think that about covers it. Thank you, and I will be working with Reed today simply to catch your questions and comments in the chat.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, today our topic is outreach. It's more than robots. So, what is outreach? It's sparking an interest in STEM through getting kids excited about robotics and mentoring younger FIRST students in FLL and FLL Junior. Recruiting engineers, mentors, and exploring the opportunities available in the world of engineering, science, and technology. That includes passing down knowledge to younger members, mentorships, fundraising, promoting FIRST, and examples are starting FLL and FLL Junior teams, holding workshops, and getting sponsors, volunteering, and hosting at events. The main impact of outreach is it improves speaking and interview skills, reinforces engineering academic skills. It connects students with potential academic and career leads, helps build more teams, helps recruit mentors, sponsors, and supporters for teams, raises awareness and support of FIRST programs, and essential parts of awards during competition seasons. Now, getting started. To get started, you need a ready and willing team, a couple of mentors and coaches, a good ready-to-go outreach kit, and an elevator outreach, and of course, a robot. Now, you might be wondering, what is an outreach kit? An outreach kit usually has a robot or a display model, everything you need to run your robot, so your batteries, your controllers, your laptops, tools, enough for your basic repairs for your robot, a power strip so that way you can charge everything. So you can charge your batteries, you can charge your computers, you can power your monitors and everything else. Display board or a team scrap bit to talk about your team. Your engineering notebook, which will also be your display board, so that way you don't have to always show the engineering notebook. A camera to document all the outreach that's happening. A laptop, a monitor, or a table for showing team videos, programming, and CAD drawings. Team information, so like flyers, business cards, brochures about your team, a table cover, a banner, and giveaways. And of course, first materials. Now you might be wondering, what does an outreach kit looks like? So the image I had on the last slide gives an example. This is a team from the world competition last year. As you see, they have their banner with their team name on it. They have different images and stuff on their background to show you what happened throughout their season. On the bottom right side, they have a monitor with a table to display images and stuff that was going on. They have their team. They have little, if you see in the corner next to the monitor, you see like wristbands and buttons and stuff that they were giving away. And of course, you see the robot on the left. So team outreach and marketing resources. So this section contains resources to assist teams in their outreach and marketing efforts. So first, logos and branding standards, first tech challenge promotional photos, team recruitment, editable files, flyers, and virtual website badges. So this is on the First Inspires website portal. Literally, if you just go to Google and you just Google FTC outreach, it automatically brings you up to this exact page, and it has all the hyperlinks for team outreach and marketing resources. So as you see, it has for promotional materials, for branding and standards, branding standards and logos. So for this year's, for the game changers, things have already started getting updates. For virtual websites, I would click on some of it, but it starts downloading some things as soon as you click it. So I just won't do that. So back to this. And also ask for an example for the brochures as you see in this picture.
I think I will interrupt a second there. Me and you are able to get these, so like 500 of the What's First flyers and whatnot with our names on them. If teams are recruiting in areas that would fit our equity, diversity, inclusion, our mission for supporting places in lower socioeconomic places, I'm certainly willing to share some of the flyers if any of the teams would like some to hand out.
My part too.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to our schedule. So now the main do's and don'ts for outreach. The do's: gracious professionalism, conduct at all times. Now everybody here should know what gracious professionalism is, so I should need to go into that. Students do the outreach themselves, meaning they're the ones taking the pictures, they're the ones going out and talking to people, they're the ones hosting their event, whether it's at their school event or somewhere else. Understand your first program, meaning understand the FTC Tech Challenge. Be informed about the event at which you're exhibiting. Dress appropriately with your team shirts, and of course, have fun. Now, the don'ts of outreach. No texting. No texting. Non-first game playing. Gaming, horseplay, such as no bringing a Nintendo Switch and playing Smash Bros the whole time and not paying attention. While on your shift at your first booth, showcase how capable students are at explaining what they do and how they do it. Have an elevator speech explanation of FIRST that's easy for the students to share. So like a quick 60-second explanation that the students can say about their experience or about their experience on the team or just about the team itself and their robot. Always introduce your FIRST programs by their full name. So we're a FIRST Tech Challenge team. I know it takes a while to get used to it. So like just saying we're we're an FLL team, we're an FRC team, we're an FTC team. A lot of people outside of FIRST do not know what FTC stands for. So as long as you say what the actual program itself is, I think it would make more of a impact. Also, make sure teams know about the event and be able to relate FIRST involvement to the business and education community involved in the event. So one thing you can do as outreach is host a team meet and greet. A key to building a professional support network for your FIRST team or program is connecting with the local area businesses and professionals who can provide mentoring, coaching, and sponsorship support. They can help community business leaders understand why supporting FIRST is not just good for your team, but good for the business and for local economic development. That's basically meaning you can go to, as an example, one thing that my FTC team tried to do a year or two ago was we tried to get a lunch sponsor. So we tried to go to Wingstop and try to get that specific Wingstop branch to sponsor us for our lunches for either our regular practices that we had every Saturday or for a competition. Now, granted, it didn't work out for us because it just didn't work out. But a lot of teams do get sponsorships by going out to other businesses or local businesses to do things. Now, community networking for FIRST teams. Community networking serves multiple purposes. From helping make FIRST robotics a community priority through increasing visibility, to nurturing the development of supportive teams resources, to helping build a vital academic and corporate skills in team members. Participate in school events, open houses, STEM nights, health fairs, sports events, sports games. Present to a school feeder, so your middle school, your junior high, or your elementary, or even your high school. Local organizations, so clubs, the Boys and Girls Club, churches, the YMCA. I know it says pediatric hospitals, but children's hospitals or maker fairs. Find a cause and support it consistently. Volunteer at FLL or FLL junior events. So teams could be, can help build field models. They can be, for qualifiers, they can be table resetters. They can be table referees. They can help set up tables and tear down tables before and after events. And they can also be team runners doing the events. So while teams are in the pit area, if they're either running late or having to be queued for a match, they can always be runners to go help get those teams to be at their match and not get skipped.
I'm gonna, Mark Garrett really likes the idea of makers fairs. I want to remind everyone to go ahead and ask questions and make comments. There's a lot of very good points here. I would think that would spur questions and additional comments. Pointing out that doing outreach at your school or within your school system is a good idea myself. So I just wanted to remind y'all to participate, give us some ideas here. Thank you.
Also, I forgot to say, host a Run the Robot Day. That can be interpreted in almost any way you want it, whether that's having a science day that's just a robot day where you have other students from other classrooms come in and do a robot demonstration where they get to drive the robot, or they get to program the robot and let it run around and see how their autonomous goes, and just little things like that, or even just talking about how they learned the programming or how they're just interested in robotics.
And one other comment on one of those is find a cause and support it consistently. It may very help your outreach program if you do get a theme of who you're helping or working with, like FLL teams in your feeder schools, or FLL teams in a particular diversity group. And more than happy to discuss that. Thank you.
Now, how to hashtag make it loud for FIRST. One of the best parts about FIRST robotics programs is the competition experience, not just the field matches itself. Wild and wonderful and goofy first fans frenzy around the field. So you have teams wearing costumes, you have music playing, you have dancing, you have singing, you have cheering, and you have a bunch of team spirit. All of it makes it all so amazing. The more, let me read that. All of it makes it all so amazing. The more so when you remember everyone's making it loud for science, technology, engineering, and math, aka STEM. Now, there are 3 main awards that go with outreach. The first is the Motivate Award, sparking others to embrace the culture of FIRST. This award celebrates the team that represents the essence of the FIRST Tech Challenge competition through the team building, team spirit, and display enthusiasm. This is a team who makes a collaborative effort to make FIRST known throughout their school and community and spark others to embrace the culture of FIRST. Now, I'm tagging back to James's when he did his engineering notebook for some of his awards.
Yeah, very important.
The second award is the Connect Award. It connects with their local science, technology, engineering, and math communities, aka STEM. They aggressively seek and recruit engineers and explores the opportunities available in the world of engineering, science, and technology. The engineering notebook must include team plan that identifies their future goals and the steps they will take to reach those goals. Examples of what the plan could include are fundraising goals, sustainability goals, timelines, outreach, and community service goals. And the third award is the Promote Award, creating a compelling video message for the public design to change our culture and celebrate science, technology, and math, engineering and math. Teams must submit a 1-minute long public service announcement, PSA, video of the PSA subject for the season. Video must follow FIRST branding and design standards. Now, to close, of course, have fun. The more fun your team has sharing what they love about FIRST, the more fun everyone at the event will have speaking to the team members, and the more interested they'll be in getting involved, supporting teams, and getting students involved with FIRST opportunities for the future. Now, the resources are, I got a lot of my information from the FIRST Inspires website, of course, a team called the Circuit Robotics in Florida. I was going to put the number, but I kind of lost it, so I have to refind it. And the Eureka Factory, which is a maker place, a maker fair itself. And that is the end of my presentation.
Very good. We got a question for the FTC website for this region. I'll get that here in a moment. I want to also suggest using social media today as a way of outreach and a way to be innovative for judging, but being innovative in that you're quarantined. If you have ideas to share it. There's one other thing I want to say at this point, and we want to say before we log off maybe again. One of the outreaches opportunities you could have is with us here on these weekly quarantine sessions. If a team would like to put together a presentation, we would maybe consider having you do the presentation instead of us. Mainly we're trying to get free content, really, make it easy on ourselves. But I also think it would be very advantageous, particularly if the students put something together to present to other students, and we would consider putting that here if it's good enough. The question is, what if we don't have social media? Most people on my team don't like using it. There are 2 reasons to use things like Discord or WhatsApp, or those are messaging platforms that I see my team starting to use more and more and include me on as a method of communication with the team, to corroborate, to be corroborating right now. but you can also use an email chain for that. But when I talk about using social media, it's not so necessarily for the existing team members, but your way of reaching out to recruit new team members or to advertise yourself as part of your marketing schemes, or to work in my favorite equity, diversity, inclusion world as well. It's not just connecting with the students on your team. When they at this point, they do have to get some sort of computer access. A lot of kids to participate in school, they can then see how this will be a way of connecting and promoting themselves and your team as well.
And if I could add on to that, with social media, there's also a lot of FIRST teams and FIRST information that is being put out on social media. That's being put out on Twitter and on Instagram and other platforms just like that. Because there are a lot of there's a lot of information that's out there, because they're now starting to catch on that that's now the new big place that everybody's going to. So they figure if we put that information there, that's another way people can connect. And you're not really making the account for the team members. You're more of making a team account itself. So so you should have, so like my team is called Gearnautics. We have a Gearnautics Twitter, and we have a Gearnautics Facebook page. And usually we get other, we get a lot of retweets from FIRST itself, from FIRST's actual Twitter page. We get there are a lot of contests that happen with Actobotics and GoBuilda and with Tetrix that go on through Twitter for sure, and definitely Pitsco. And you want to add on to this? I can't think of anything else. But there is a lot that happens that goes on through social media now. So it's one outlook to still keep an eye out on. Are there any other questions that anybody has about outreach that they would like to add, or any comments that they would like to make, or any comparisons they would like to make?
This might have something to do with it for marketing purposes. Is there any way that we can change our name? I know not the number, but can we change the team name?
On the FIRST website, on your dashboard at any time. I know I've done it. That's how I named the all black girls team in Oakland. I had named Black Panthers. So I've done it. So no, I'm fairly, if you have any problems doing that, contact one of us. Okay, because the dashboard is a confusing place trying to find different things. But I know it's there if you look around.
Okay.
So, and if you do change your name, I do recommend that it happens definitely before your very first league meet of the season, but if possible before the season starts, because it has to be in the system. And if you change your name and once you get to the competition, we do a full randomize, and it also puts the team name on there. And if your name is on there and it's not in our regular system on our paperwork, we're going to think you're not there, and we're going to disqualify you. So if you do it, make sure you do it, and then let your league coordinator know too, your league host.
Mark has pointed out that my link is still showing the old website. Really? And why is that? Because it wasn't that this morning, Brian. Have I got the wrong link?
Let me find the right unmute button. Let me check.
Okay. And thanks for telling me, Mark. Took me a moment to see that. Do you have the right link, Reed? Because that is a point, and that we published a new website that has the links under events, under Zoom meetups.
I think you put the wrong link.
I put the wrong link. You got the right one?
There
yes.
We go. Except mine doesn't give a blue hyperlink. But that's it.
Oh, I pressed it too. Whoops.
I'll, since I don't have any other questions for the moment, I'll show you our new
I forget it's called STEAM now. When we go to STEAM nights at elementary schools, we have our robot do things, capture a block. On Dr. Seuss nights, we do picture. Yeah, that's outreach for sure.
I took the screen for a moment. Just wanted to show you our new website. And when you scroll down, everything shows it. It's a nice improvement. Under events, we're advertising our Zoom meetups, and this is where you can also find the links to past. And I will post this video within 24 hours of today's lesson. Will also be here. Just so giving that information. Back to you, Reed.
Say that one more time, James?
I was just showing the website and how to see our previous videos and whatnot.
Yes.
And that if I can't confirm this, Sharon, I'll have to approve it, but that if you do a presentation here, if it's we will also provide a link to it as well as part of our Zoom meetups. And what is Raymond P. agreeing to? You can to the fact that yes, that any outreach, even outreach within your own school, when you go recruiting, when you go to recruit. I was at Bel Air High School and they had a fair for incoming freshmen. And we were doing outreaches there. And as I think about that, it's the last time I think I've done outreach. Me and Reed do a fair amount at other events for VISTA to promote not only FIRST, but to promote the VISTA program. So any of you who are graduating seniors and are thinking about taking a past year or something, and you have a lot of FIRST experience, you can think about being a FIRST VISTA.
Yep.
One of the things. And that goes to, in my elevator speech at the beginning, when I normally introduce myself, it's one of the things I should have in my elevator speech. So understand the difficulty of an elevator speech and getting it right every time, but also trying to point out its importance of, we have a purpose here to promote FIRST robotics to everyone and opportunity for people to work with kids and robots in the FIRST VISTA program.
Another thing I want to say about outreach isn't just, I know I said it in the presentation, but outreach isn't just about your, never mind, I lost my train of thought.
Mark's in one of the photos. Yeah, I think I did recognize you, Mark. Ian Zimmerman, S7, was asking, do you have any tips on how to get sponsors and how to recruit more people? That's Reed.
Long sigh. That's
I'd like to ask if any of the participants would like to give any tips
on how they've gotten new mentorships or how they've gotten any sponsors.
The sponsors in most of my schools, it's very important to write a good letter to send to sponsors. They find potential sponsors and they either send them by email or even by mail. Some of our fellow Vistas have some very positive success stories in writing letters by mail to potential sponsors. And recruiting team members, that's really, what did you do, Reed?
For recruiting team members, one thing that we did was a lot of our outreach took place during either a sports event at a church or we had a STEM fair. We also we went to Comic Palooza for 2 years and had an actual STEM booth next to their maker fair itself that was happening during the convention. And usually we grab somebody, we say, hey, you like robotics? You do anything robotics? They say, I don't know. Want to drive the robot? They're like, okay, sure. They drive and they're like, oh, this is cool. So like, okay, we'll take your information down and come and see us at our makerspace one day, or come and see our team one day, or just offer them. Usually it's by offering them to come out to a competition, they can see what's going to happen. And then by the next competition, usually they either say yes, they want to join, or they're trying to think about it. That's one way that we would do it.
Mark Garrett's also thinking, holding the Drive a Robot Day gets people excited. Christopher from Dulles is saying he's working on finding sponsors, and it's a good thing to be doing. I know the guys running the Houston Comic Palooza. They also run the Houston Maker Fair. That's from Mark. So keep that in mind, everyone else. What were you going to say, Robin?
Two things. The first one is you might want to get together. If you're an FTC team, you might want to get together with another FIRST team, like a FLL team or something, and have your own little FIRST event, so that when you invite people, they can see, what's going on for different age groups. That is not just for middle school or high school kids. That we start with younger kids, and it's a program that grows through the years with the kids. So like we used to have a slogan. We would say, "Come grow up with FIRST," where we would start with junior FLL and you could go all the way to FRSC. And families found that was great because it was consistent. Another thing is, if you go on the FIRST website, you go to fundraising, there's oodles of information on how to get sponsors. There's a sponsor letter. There's some recruitment materials. There's a section on how to, if you want to be a 501c3 organization, how to start a booster club. There's oodles of information that's actually on the FIRST website that most of the time, as adults, we don't necessarily go to the site and look at it because it is a lot of information. There's examples for urban teams as well as for rural teams.
And from the comments, Ryan Smiga from Port Lavaca says, it doesn't hurt to ask for sponsorship. The worst thing can happen is say no. Christopher, you're asking, how can I find out if there are FLL teams near my school? We can't necessarily share detailed information, but I think if you ask me or Reed, we do have access to a database. We can tell you.
You can look up by zip code also through the dashboard. How can I find out if they're? Oh, okay.
If you're looking up, if you go to the FIRST website and you're looking up find events or find teams, you can narrow it down by city. I think you can narrow it down by zip code, and then you can just actually go, through some of them and see. That's how I look up to see what new teams that are happening, because we usually know what the numbers are from the prior teams, and we can see, what's opening up and what teams are in our area. So it's you can separate it by program, or you can separate it by geographic area.
Ian Zimmerman's asking, would it be better to ask sponsorships from big or small companies? Which ones would be more likely to sponsor your team? It would
still be both.
Yeah. What is your success, Reed? And
surprisingly enough, big companies.
Yeah, and particularly because if members of your team work for those big companies, the big companies are far more likely to sponsor your team. So that for what I would say for big companies, if you have team members or mentors or some association with a large company's local office, that's very that's your most likely sponsor, but that goes to small companies as well. If one of your team members or mentors have a connection with a small company, that's where you're more likely than a total blind email with no connection. Becky T was pointing out we got a Dow grant and it went into our FIRST account. We're not able to use it for additional materials, replacement materials, travels, etc. Actually, that's a good point. We were thinking we were going to get someone that knows about grants, and we do a Q&A session next week on grants to discuss. And part of the issues I think would be important to discuss is where the money goes. Yes, if it goes into the FIRST account, you're going to be limited to buying through the FIRST storefront, which is registration and a limited amount of robot parts and packages. Another issue with grants, though, that I would like to bring up, and most probably be discussed between teachers, is that if the grant is then distributed to your school, you're going to have difficulty getting your school to pass that grant through to your team, but you do need either your school's I-9, or you would have to create a nonprofit and have an I-9 for the grant to be distributed directly to get around that, which a lot of teams out in California, almost all of my school teams, were actually 501c nonprofits. Brian Smiga points out, look for companies that are connected to STEM jobs as well. Dow is a chemical company. That's very much an engineering and science company, though, as well. And if they're in your community.
There's also a lot of foundations that are willing to help and sponsor teams too, and give sponsorships.
Which is for those kids, do go and cruise their websites. Use Google and company websites, searching for their outreach. They have different names for it. But companies, all companies now have a division of their human resources that sort of specialize in supporting their communities.
And don't forget your parents. A lot of times your parents have, of their team members, might have connections or might, know of someone who would be willing to, their personal company or vendors that they associate with might, even if it's maybe $100, $100 is more than the $100 you had the day before.
And I'll use Apple as is someone speaking?
No.
I'll use Apple as an example for companies, and this includes Apple employees at Apple stores. But if an Apple employee is a mentor for your team, your registration is paid for. That's most beneficial with FRC because their registration is $6,000. But it can help with FTC or FLL as well. But they also, and I'm trying to remember if Apple was the one that was paid the most, every hour the mentor records that he supported your team, they will give, it was either $25 or $50 an hour. And Apple's not the only one. A lot of companies, Qualcomm does it, Adobe does it in an indirect way. Granted, Adobe was in San Jose. I don't know if you're going to find too many people working for Adobe here in Houston. But it's just an example. If ask all of the members of your team about who their parents work for and look at those parents' jobs for those outreach opportunities. They have a community support, community outreach, have different words for it. Trying to think of another word for that.
Something else you might want to consider with sponsorships, everything is not always a sponsorship in form of a monetary or cash donation. It could be in-kind services as well. So for our community teams, a church allows us to use their space and they provide us free Wi-Fi, which saves us a whole bunch of money. And this is going in our third year. Also at school, the school doesn't provide any money for the robotics after school program, but they do allow me to use the copy machines and the color printer for when I need, and the banner printer for when I need to do a banner. So those little in-kind things help us a lot.
Becky says Exxon employees look for places they can volunteer, their family members too. They can get so many hours of volunteer time put in, and you can apply for an Exxon grant. I'm fairly certain she means Exxon Mobil, and I have seen their employees at our events because of that. When we do the Worlds, you get to, which is unfortunate that we didn't have those. Of course, there's a lot more unfortunate than that. But at the World Championships, and they're free for everyone to attend here in Houston, you'll go around and many of the volunteers will be from large organizations like ExxonMobil, Dow, NASA was my first year. A lot of my other new FIRST volunteers at the World were directed from NASA, Qualcomm. And if they have programs that support their employees for doing that volunteering also may come in with actual cash support as well, going the other way. But as Robin's right, there's a lot of in-kind support they provide that way. Cisco systems, and you will find Cisco employees, they often are looking for places for their interns to work, so that you can get mentors that way. I just haven't got that one to work yet.
That'd be a good way to get interaction from these people.
I like that question about which size companies and why. Yes, you're more likely to get it from big companies, but I like the idea of medium and small enterprises being pursued as sponsors as well, because that may end up getting better community involvement.